This is 1992. Cindy Crawford is everywhere. Magazine covers, runways, TV spots. She leads the supermodel era, mixing glamour, confidence, and huge commercial power. After rising in the late 80s, she now stands beside Naomi Campbell, Christy Turlington, and Linda Evangelista as a defining face of fashion. In 1950s Los Angeles, rows of iron lungs fill a vast ward at Rancho Los Amigos. Nurses move between humming steel cylinders, checking gauges and mirrors while patients lie sealed from neck to toe. Polio had paralyzed breathing muscles. These machines pulled air to keep chests rising. Elspeth Beard straddles her BMW R60/6, the machine that carried her around the planet. Over 2 years, from 1982 to 1984, she rode 35,000 miles across deserts, mountains, and cities, rebuilding the bike as often as she rebuilt plans. Britain's first woman to circle the world by motorcycle. In 1993, the US president leaned over a compact gray laptop, fingers moving across its tiny keyboard. President Clinton is drafting the first presidential email, a quiet moment that marked a new era for the White House. From the 1950s to the 1970s, roadside America ran on family stations. You pulled in, and a uniformed attendant filled the tank, checked oil and tires, and wiped the glass. Many shops sold feed, fixed flats, and knew your name. After the oil shocks, self-service spread. The ritual faded, but the memory of care remains. Inside a packed studio in 1985, music's biggest stars crowd the mic to record "We Are the World." Leather jackets, wild hair, and expensive jackets meet creativity. Willie Nelson, Lionel Richie, Tina Turner, Bob Dylan, Cyndi Lauper, Michael Jackson, and Bruce Springsteen made that night's chorus become a global anthem. Headphones on, quarters ready. The 1980s blended music and games. Sony's Walkman, launched in 1979, made songs portable and private. Pac-Man, arriving in 1980, filled arcades with bright mazes, quick reflexes, and hungry ghosts. Together, they shaped daily life, a cassette clicking in your pocket while you chased high scores at a glowing cabinet. At 24, Anthony Bourdain was a young cook in a tight New York kitchen. He chopped fast, learned faster. In 1938 at Jerez, Spanish archaeologist Manuel Esteve tried on a freshly unearthed Corinthian helmet. The piece, likely from the 5th century BCE, points to Greek trade and influence in southern Iberia. Amid the Spanish Civil War, Esteve kept excavating along the Guadalquivir, cataloging Iberian, Roman, and Phoenician sites. In 1926, Miss America sat smiling beneath a towering maze of metal tubes. It's a new perm machine built to shape perfect curls. Wires hang like a crown, while the inventor stands proudly on her. In 1991, Princess Diana reached out barehanded to greet a man living with AIDS. The simple handshake, offered with warmth and eye contact, cut through fear at a time when stigma was rampant. In hospitals and hospices, she made a statement. Dignity matters, compassion isn't contagious, and leadership can be as gentle as a human hand. Before email, New York shot mail through pipes. This control room managed a web of pneumatic tubes linking 23 post offices across 27 miles. Clerks packed letters into metal capsules and sent them whooshing beneath the streets, popping up minutes later across town. The network ran until 1957, an early network powered by air, and lived for the noise and heat of service. No TV lights, no books yet, only long nights, sharp knives, and a clear goal. The 1955 Rock-Ola jukebox gleamed in chrome and glass. Push buttons lined its face, letting diners choose 45 RPM hits in seconds. Its smooth mechanism and bold sound filled soda shops and bars with rock and roll, country, and rhythm and blues. More than a machine, it became a lasting icon of mid-century American music. At Patsy Swayze's Houston studio in 1978, Patrick Swayze leans into a playful pose with his mother, choreographer Patsy Swayze, and his future wife, Lisa Hoppaniemi. later Lisa Niemi. Jeans, sandals, and wood floors set the scene. They move in sync, practicing the steps that built his grace on screen and their bond offstage. Between takes on The Shining, Jack Nicholson sits in a deck chair, dusted head to toe with snow, eyes narrowed against the cold. His suit is soaked, the grin is waiting, and the camera is close. A brief, quiet pause before the terror returns. Rita Hayworth and Frank Sinatra stepped out together in 1957, all smiles and easy charm. She wears a sleek dress, he sports a sharp suit and narrow tie, hat tilted just so. Two legends holding hands between flashes. Around 1900, a young woman tries a new marvel, the candlestick telephone. She holds the receiver to her ear and smiles into the polished mouthpiece. Homes and shops were just starting to connect by voice, one call at a time. Blues pioneer Muddy Waters leans into his hollow body guitar while his wife, Geneva, rests close under his arm. Shot by Art Shea in 1951, the portrait feels great and electric at once. You can almost hear the chords that would shape Chicago blues as they share this moment. On the wooden steps of a one-room schoolhouse, a small class poses with their teacher. It's 1908 in Millwood Township, Minnesota, School District 89. Chalk dust, coal heat, and slates inside. Chores waiting at home. In 1966, Chicago's streets gained a new face, the meter maid. In a neat uniform with a ticket pad, she patrolled crowded curbs as car ownership surged. The job kept traffic moving and signaled change, cities modernizing rules, and women stepping into public service. Lee Remick moves through the city with quiet poise. Born in Quincy in 1935, she rose from Broadway to film with A Face in the Crowd, then stunned in Days of Wine and Roses with Jack Lemmon. And in 1968, she starred in No Way to Treat a Lady. Gilda Radner beams in front of a John Travolta cutout, comedy meeting teen idol cool in one shot. Fresh from Second City, she is launching with the original Saturday Night Live cast. Travolta is breaking out on Welcome Back, Kotter. The photo, taken in 1975, hints at a decade where TV, movies, and disco shaped pop culture. On Leave It to Beaver, young stars Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow charmed TV audiences. Mathers, the curious beaver, sometimes broke into song, showing a voice that matched his mischief. Dow, steady Big Brother Wally, brought quiet skill at the piano. Their real talents slipped on screen, adding warmth and everyday truth to 1950s family life. In Washington, D.C., cowboy host Pick Temple turned local TV into a small ranch. Wearing boots and a guitar, he led sing-alongs, games, and gentle contests with kids seated on hay bales. The show was live and interactive, and every child felt seen. For a generation, Temple's warmth made afternoons memorable and became part of the city's TV history. Seated in the audience, Michael wears a glittered jacket and a single sparkling glove. Beside him, Brooke Shields smiles in a sculpted gown. The room hums with expectation. Before the night ends, Michael Jackson will make history, winning 8 Grammy Awards. Sting, Bryan Adams, and Rod Stewart linked up in 1993 for a one-off mission. 3 voices, 1 chorus. They recorded All for Love for the Three Musketeers and posed with swords to match the mood. Rock met romance, big and sincere. In 1928, swim fashion took a different style. The full-face swimming mask, usually rubberized fabric, it covered cheeks, nose, and chin to block sun and salt, keeping complexions pale when tans were unfashionable. But the tiny openings for eyes and lips made swimmers look doll-like. On a winter sidewalk in Chicago, a new homeowner couple stares at crude chalk letters, black with an arrow, scrawled to mark and threaten. It is 1957, and the neighborhood is all white. The message is meant to push them out. They stand together instead, coats tight against the cold. During a reading event at a Sarasota elementary school, Chief of Staff Andrew Card leans in to whisper urgent news to President George W. Bush. A second airliner has struck the World Trade Center. It was 9:07 a.m. on September 11th, 2001. From high above, the ring looks like a white stage. Muhammad Ali raises a glove while Cleveland Williams lies on the canvas. The crowd presses close around the ropes. It is 1966 in the Houston Astrodome. Speed, timing, and clean punches ended in round 3. Lady Diana walks with Prince William, trading a small smile as he looks down, shy and amused. It is August 1997, their final public photograph together. No royal stage, just a simple street, a light suit, a school sweater, and an easy conversation. Outside St. Matthew's Cathedral on November 25, 1963, 3-year-old John F. Kennedy Jr. lifts a small hand in salute as his father's casket departs. Beside him stand Jacqueline Kennedy in a black veil and his sister, Caroline. Behind them are Robert and Edward Kennedy. Not just the three stooges, the Howards were 5 brothers. Moe, Curly, and Shemp became comedy legends. Seated with them is Jack Howard, who chose a quiet life in insurance. Another brother, Solomon, skipped show business entirely and kept the original family name. In 1958, off-duty trainee constable Eric Clegg struck and killed Julia Lennon on Menlove Avenue. 6 years later, he'd left the police and become a postman. In 1964, he carried sacks of Beatles fan mail to 20 Forthland Road, Paul McCartney's family home, daily work in the same city as the accident that scarred John Lennon. Before search engines, students searched by hand. In the 1970s, you pulled a wooden drawer, flipped through typed cards, and traced call numbers to tall shelves. This was research, quiet rooms, pencil notes, and patient browsing. The card catalog was the map of the library and the closest thing to Googling long before the web. In London in 1972, British model Jenny Clare leaned against a parking meter beside her classic Mini. The city street is quiet, the car's chrome bright, and her playful pose sells style and freedom over horsepower. At the 1980 premiere of The Empire Strikes Back, Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford trade smiles and quick remarks in black tie glow. She points playfully, he leans in, amused. Off-screen chemistry matches the saga's fire. High above the boardwalk, 2 riders swing past steeplechase signs and look out over a human ocean. It's the 1950s at Coney Island, and every New Yorker seems to be here. The sand is shoulder to shoulder, the water full of swimmers, the boardwalk buzzing with music, rides, and relief from the city heat. In 1980s Hungary, a driver grips a standalone steering wheel before a bulky console. On the CRT, a glowing road twists into a number 5. This was a roadworthiness test, a simulator that measured reflexes, lane keeping, and braking decisions before renewing a license. Analog dials and cables everywhere, but the goal was modern, safer drivers through practice. In 1961, Chicago, kids huddled around a custom 3-eyed TV monster, a wooden console with 3 glowing screens side by side. Headphones on, remote box in hand, they surf early multi-screen TV years before picture-in-picture. News on one, westerns on another, cartoons on the third. In 1967, Arnold Schwarzenegger steps onto a platform and grips a block of stone. He heaves 508 pounds, or 254 kilos, breaking the Bavarian stone lifting record. The rules require a cold attempt. No warm-up, no prep. Faces lean in as he locks out the weight. Fresh off Eurovision glory, Sweden's pop quartet strikes a playful pose at London's Waterloo Station. It's 1974, the year Waterloo rockets them, from newcomers to global chart storm. Platform signs echo the title. Agnetha, Annie Fried, Björn, and Benny grin like conspirators, ready to turn train noise into sing-along history. At the 1970 Academy Awards, Elizabeth Taylor arrives with Richard Burton. She wears a pale blue gown and the 69-carat Taylor Burton diamond at her throat. Flashbulbs pop as Hollywood's most watched couple. Fred Rogers hosted Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, a gentle show that taught feelings are real, safe, and manageable. Through songs, quiet chats, and puppet friends, Daniel's Striped Tiger and King Friday On a Miami pier near Christmas 1946, Al Capone poses with his wife, May, and children. The smile hides a grim truth. He had lived for years with untreated syphilis, caught in the 1920s. Weeks after this picture, he died from its damage. Doctors said the once feared boss had the mind of a 12-year-old. Sun, sea, and a quiet smile. Bob Marley relaxes on a Jamaican beach with Miss World 1976, Cindy Breakspear, muse, partner, and mother of Damian Marley. They lean into each other in bright caps and shorts, far from stages and headlines. Before cell phones, dorm life meant payphones and patience. Students hunted for coins or calling cards, stretched the cord for privacy, and hoped no one listened in. You jotted numbers on notebooks, dialed long distance, and raced the clock before curfew. Meet Harvey Ball, the man behind the world's most famous smiley face. In 1963, the Worcester graphic artist drew a bright yellow circle, 2 oval eyes, and a curved mouth to lift company spirits. The simple design worked and escaped his desk to travel everywhere. Ball never trademarked it. He just loved that it made people smile. On August 8, 1974, Richard Nixon sat down to a plain lunch in the White House, pineapple rings with a scoop of cottage cheese and a tall glass of milk. Hours later, he went on national television and said he would resign. Terry A. Davis turned a one-man vision into code. Living with schizophrenia, he wrote Temple OS by himself. Kernel, compiler, graphics, sound, and a programming language he called Holy C. The system runs in 640 by 480 and speaks in his voice. Strange, brilliant, and truly original. In 1965, Angus Barbieri of Scotland shocked doctors with a doctor-supervised fast that lasted 382 days. Starting at 456 pounds, he lived on water, tea, coffee, and mineral supplements, passing stool only every few weeks. He finished at 180 pounds, 276 down, and kept most of it off for years, regaining little before his death in 1990. They called them hormigueros ants. At Serra Pelada in Brazil, men climbed ladders carved into raw earth, each carrying mud and hope. From dawn to dark, they crawled up and down the pit's sheer walls, chasing gold and luck. The scene in August 1985 shows a human tide, fragile lines against a scarred hillside. Amy Winehouse strides past with coffee in hand. Her voice mixed jazz, soul, and pain, turning small stages into lightning. In 2008, she made history, becoming the first British woman to win 5 Grammys in a single night. Back to Black and Rehab powered that rise. At Bob Dylan's tribute concert in 1992, a restless crowd booed Sinead O'Connor. Chris Christopherson stepped beside the 25-year-old, held her close, and led her away. Later, he wrote a song for her, praising her nerve and honesty. This moment shows a friend's steadiness and an artist refusing to bend for approval. Tina Turner kneels beside her fresh star and waves to the crowd on Hollywood Boulevard. It's 1986, 2 years after her private dancer comeback. The smile is bright, the dress is bold, and the moment feels earned. A survivor turned icon, Tina claims her place in the Pop Hall of Fame. Bronx, 1977. The corner breathes heat and grit. A burned-out building stares with empty windows. A yellow light hangs over cracked asphalt. La Sabanena's sign promises groceries while men rest on a stoop. Before the campaign rallies and the Oval Office, Barack Obama stood in crowded halls at the University of Chicago Law School, guiding students through rights and power. Here he smiles with a few of them after class, relaxed in denim and an open collar. In 1995, Professor Obama was already practicing leadership in the classroom, flag in each hand. Arnold Schwarzenegger beams as he celebrates becoming an American. After years of training, films, and hard work in his adopted country, he raised his right arm and took the oath. September 1983 marked more than paperwork. Three siblings pause for a photo in South Africa, 1989. A teen smiles, polo untucked. His brother leans into frame. Their sister stands center in an oversized graphic tee. It's a small, ordinary moment for Elon Musk before startups, headlines, and rocket-fueled dreams. The energy is already there, and family pride is captured on a warm afternoon. Royal formality met Aussie casual. In a room of tuxedos and tiaras, comedian Paul Hogan stood in cut-off shorts and a sleeveless shirt, grinning as he was presented to Queen Elizabeth II. The moment captured in 1980. Long before his name became a scandal, Jeffrey Epstein stood at a chalkboard at Manhattan's Dalton School teaching math and science. Hired despite lacking a college degree, he impressed some with fast talk and ambition. In 1976, he left the classroom for Wall Street at Bear Stearns, an early step toward the powerful circles he later exploited. The neighborhood of make-believe explored problems, friendship, and empathy. His calm voice and sincerity reshaped children's TV. Raquel Welch dribbles a soccer ball in a Chelsea jersey, number 9, on a dusty backlot in 1971. The set looks like an old Western town, but she brings London energy to the scene. Between takes, the Hollywood star loosens up with quick touches and a grin. The camera finds Liv Tyler in 1997, early in her rise from indie films to blockbuster fame. Fresh-faced, calm, and direct, she balances rock royalty roots with a quiet presence. That year, she moved between runways, videos, and sets, building toward roles in Armageddon and The Lord of the Rings. Between takes on Madame Saint-Jean in 1961, Sophia Loren steps into the sun outside the studio, hair pinned, costume loosened, a coat draped in her arms. She looks straight ahead, calm and magnetic. Before fame rewrote his life, a young Johnny Depp turned an ironing board into a kitchen. He sets bread and cheese on the board, plugs in a hotel iron, and sizzles each sandwich to a golden crust. It's thrifty, odd, and charming, an improvised snack in a rented space. Aboard Air Force One, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson raises his right hand as Federal Judge Sarah T. Hughes administers the oath. Jacqueline Kennedy stands at his side, still in her suit. Lady Bird Johnson watches nearby. It is November 22, 1963. Minutes after Dallas, an emergency transfer of power was captured in a crowded cabin. Before the speeches and the crowds, Barack Obama was a cheerful kid in the 1960s, sitting in his mother Ann Dunham's arms with a toy ball. The studio light catches their smiles. Hawaii would be home, books his steady company, and moves between continents would shape his outlook. Far out in Niger's Sahara stood the tree of Tenere, a single acacia in a sea of sand. For travelers, it was a rarity. There were no other trees for hundreds of kilometers. In 1973, a drunk truck driver hit and toppled it. A monument now stands in its place, marking where the world's loneliest tree once grew. On his 36th birthday in March 1967, Leonard Nimoy sits between his parents, Max and Dora Nimoy, in a modest living room. The future Spock is off duty from the starship, tie loosened, cigarette in hand, posing for a family snapshot. During a heated Greek League game in 1993, Serbian forward Boban Jankovic lost control. After a foul call, he charged the basket post and smashed his head into the concrete support. The arena fell silent. He was left paralyzed from the neck down and would never walk again. A career and life changed in seconds. Mid-song, a white dove drops from the rafters and lands on Robert Plant's hand. He laughs, curls bright under the lights, the crowd roaring. It is 1973, Led Zeppelin at full power, a brief sign of peace on a loud night. In 1965, Werner von Braun lounges in his Huntsville office, rockets lined along the wall, from Redstone and Jupiter to the towering Saturn V in the corner. Phone in one hand, papers in the other, he directs NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, plotting the path to the moon. After Howdy Doody ended in 1960, Buffalo Bob Smith's freckled partner seemed to vanish. Fans traded stories about a lost puppet, while museums kept costumes and props. When Smith died in 1998, a legal fight followed over the real star. The Detroit Institute of Arts ultimately won custody, and today, the beloved marionette rests in its puppet collection. Not your usual pairing, Alice Cooper grips a bunch of balloons. Beside him is Gene Stapleton, TV's Edith Bunker, glittering in a starry stage costume. The shot is often linked to Studio 54, though many say it was taken at the Hollywood Bowl's Shakespeare Cabaret in August 1973. Rock shock meets sitcom royalty. Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson, and Jaclyn Smith stand in silver gowns, 3 points of a new TV triangle. It's 1976, and ABC is launching Charlie's Angels. Their smiles and feathered hair signal a shift. The trio would become posters, headlines, and Halloween costumes, turning primetime into pop culture. In 1975, 4 young Brits posed before rewriting rock. Drummer Roger Taylor, singer Freddie Mercury, guitarist Brian May, and bassist John Deacon stand with sharp contrasts and big hair. That year, they released Bohemian Rhapsody, a 6-minute gamble of operatic voices and heavy riffs. Radio hesitated, audiences cheered, and Queen's legend truly began. On the set of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell stride side by side. Monroe glows in a red, curve-hugging gown. Russell shines in black sequins with a silver fur. Cameras track their steps. Extras watch from tables. It's 1953, and 2 studio queens turn a rehearsal walk into movie magic. Outside a Montgomery courthouse, Martin Luther King Jr. steps into the crowd and finds Coretta waiting. She reaches up and kisses his cheek. He smiles, hat tilted, relief mixing with resolve. It was March 22, 1956, in the first months of the bus boycott. At the Kennedy home, President John F. Kennedy relaxes in a chair while his daughter Caroline tries on a rubber mask of her father. She mirrors his hand to the chin through the costume. It is 1962, a small family scene between crises, when a busy president was simply dad for a moment. On the set of Mean Streets in 1973, 2 rising actors pose for a playful snapshot. They stand barefoot in boxers and undershirts, grinning like friends at home rather than gangsters on screen. Before computers shut themselves down, you waited for 4 words. It's now safe to turn off your computer. The screen went black, the fan hummed, and the beige tower asked for a final press of the power button. Late 90s Windows, floppy drives, and clicky keyboards, ending the day with a small ritual of patience. Princess Diana arrived at the Serpentine Gallery in a short black off-the-shoulder dress. Around her neck, a bold pearl and onyx choker. Hours earlier, Prince Charles had confessed to infidelity on television. On June 29, 1994, in Kensington Gardens, Diana turned a charity evening into a message. At a Washington party in 1983, Donald Trump clinked a glass beside his mentor, attorney Roy Cohn. Cohn coached Trump on press, lawsuits, and bare-knuckle deals. Trump supplied drive and appetite. The snapshot shows ambition mid-stride, networking in public, while lessons in power moved quietly. Photographer Ron Galella trails Marlon Brando wearing a football helmet and clutching his camera. The strange gear had a story. In 1973, Brando punched Galella outside a New York restaurant, breaking his jaw and knocking out several teeth. Ever since, the paparazzo protected his head while shadowing the actor. 2 Houston officers stand at the gate, shaken by what they saw inside a Clear Lake home. Hours earlier, Andrea Yates waited for her husband to leave, then drowned her 5 children in the bathtub. Suffering postpartum psychosis and gripped by extreme religious fears, she believed the deaths in June 2001 would save their souls.